Whoa there, Space Cowboy. Brokeback Bebop is a podcast with explicit content intended only for mature bounty hunters. Listener discretion is advised. Listen to all 40 steamy sessions of the show right now by supporting Brokeback Bebop at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast.
I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay.
3, 2, 1. Mommy?
Nice. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. I really that part hit me in my heart when he was like, yeah, moms.
Anything that's written to that makes me think of you a lot.
As
do you
it
want to
should.
just open up and share with the audience why that is, maybe?
I have been known in my time to obviously now I'm a spoken for man in a very happy relationship, but I used to lean a little bit more towards an older variety. You know, nothing crazy. But I did date somebody pretty seriously with a child, and even Danny's 6 years older than I am. So I like
and
to punch up a little
deeper than
bit.
that, regardless of your dating history, if someone talks about a mom on something that you watch or we watch together, you're just automatically like, woo! Oh yeah, that's the stuff.
Mamma
immediately.
mia.
Exactly. You're a mom guy, and that's
I'm
okay.
a mom guy.
Moms are
I
incredible.
like to be cared for. Moms do great things.
Well, okay, so
Save a horse, ride a mom.
Man, this is opening a lot. What you just said concerns me a little bit. You say you like to be cared for. It is that you want them kind of to be your mommy.
No, not so much, but I think that the
There's
traits of somebody who
hesitancy.
cares for others is an attractive quality for me.
If you want to have a weird conversation real quick, this is something that like Lily and I talked about the other day because it's uncomfortable but unmistakable, especially for young men.
Mm-hmm.
The type of love, care, and affection that we frequently get from our mothers, and then what we are looking for in a partner somewhere in our brain without being aware of it. There is a thing there that, because I don't know how many young men get into a relationship with like a woman who has mom vibes, who then goes on to like, then the boy like cuts their hair and changes their style because now their mommy is dressing them and stuff like that. You know what I mean? If you can be aware of it and grow from that, but it is a thing.
It's a thing for sure. Freud was on to a lot.
So if you're a mommy out there listening, come on the show. We just want to have a chat.
I just want to talk to you.
How you mommies out there doing? All you mommies across the stars and the galaxies
Bebop out there. Hit us with your favorite space mom. You have a favorite space mom?
Brokeback Bebop. Well, I mean, I don't know a lot, so immediately I've got to go either Jane Jetson, obviously, or Padme. Is that the one that would be the mommy?
Yeah, great choice.
Thank you.
Padme's an excellent choice.
Thank you.
Absolutely my favorite
What about
space
you?
mommy. I named a
what you would've
tortoise
said.
Padme once. We didn't get very far. But,
we didn't get very far. What was your relationship with this tortoise like, Steven?
You know, I was a child and she was a child in our kingdom by the sea.
You entered the animal kingdom and...
Hey, we've been to Animal Kingdom together, huh?
Hell yeah, we have.
We went on that 6 a.m. safari. It wasn't 6 a.m., but it was early. It was great. Which, by the way, if you go to Disney World and you go to Animal Kingdom, don't sleep on the safari. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life.
Well, all those mommies out there listening need to know this. They'll be there.
Yeah. I'll go with you with your kids to Disney. We'll have a fucking blast.
Yeah.
I'll send Junior off to the teacups, and you and I have some fun on Splash Mountain.
Welcome to the show, everyone. We're getting closer and closer to the end of this traverse through Cowboy Bebop. Today we're doing episode 7 of the live action series, so there's only 3 more episodes in the Cowboy Bebop franchise, even though what we're watching at times seems to stray farther and farther from being connected to that, but it is. We still have a few more episodes of Cowboy Bebop left, and today we're talking, like I said, about episode 7 of the live action Netflix remake. This episode is called Galileo Hustle, right? Is that correct? I didn't write it down. Is it Hustle?
Yeah, you're
Galileo
absolutely
Hustle?
right.
The
Galileo
episode
Hustle
was directed by Alex Garcia Lopez, who directed a lot of the show. The first episode, Cowboy Gospel, Venus Pop, Dark Side Tango, all the hits. And after this, he directs one more, Sad Clown A Go-Go, which is next week's episode. And this episode was written by Alexandra E. Hartman, who only has a couple of writing credits, and the only real noteworthy one was a podcast series called Ghost Tape. So an up-and-comer television writer on this one.
That's good to see.
And the episode was originally released along with the entire series on November 19th, 2021. And let's get into the hustle.
Let's do it. Let's talk about
it. Do the hustle. Let's do some trivia. I've got 3 questions for you
your
today.
Day, your life. I guess we already did our small talk with the mommy play, huh?
Yeah, we burned any of the extra time in this program on mommies. And that's
as we normally do.
It's deserved.
Well, I've got 3 questions for you this week, Zach.
Okay, so do I.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to let you go first.
One of mine is incredibly easy because I wrote it down the first time it came up and then it kept coming up. Okay?
Nice.
Do you want me to just burn that one off first?
Ask it. No. Let's go in order. I want to go in order, Zach.
You want to go along the journey with me? Okay.
I do.
Where did Spike think Faye was born?
Ooh. Where did Spike think Faye was born?
Yep.
Oh.
It's kind of a throwaway
that
line
she
near the beginning of the episode.
Like made in a lab.
That's close, but we're looking for a
different
verb. A different verb.
She was whipped up in a
No,
lab.
that's not
You
the
didn't
verb.
ask how, you said where.
That's true, and you said lab. That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
But we were looking for hatched.
Hatched in a lab. Lab egg. Nice. That was a good one. That was a good question.
Thank you.
Where did Whitney pick up her dumpling recipe?
Oh, no.
Not to be confused with her absolute dump truck that she's walking around with.
MarthaStewartLiving.com.
Ooh! Swing and a miss there, sport.
Yeah,
we're looking for, I don't remember the variety of monk that she says, but a monk on Trident.
Sure.
Do you know where Trident is?
Somewhere with layers.
Hey-o, I think Trident is either the largest moon of Jupiter, which wouldn't make sense. It would make more sense if it was a moon of Neptune, but
right.
You know.
Well,
No,
we'll call
Titan.
in. We'll get it changed.
Titan.
We'll let them
is
know that it
the
makes more
Jupiter's
sense.
moon,
We'll call
so
them and let
Trident
them know.
must be Neptune's
so they can
largest
change
moon.
it. We'll just let them know it makes more
Well,
sense.
I think I explained it away. It's okay. Next question, Zachary.
Yeah, really easy question. What is the vaguely ethnic guy after Faye's fake mom named?
Oh, that's also my second.
Are you kidding me? Because I wrote it down, and then by the end of the episode, I was like, well, obviously he's
Well,
gonna know
I
that.
also wrote it down. So
Right.
like, oh, this guy's not going to be back in the episode. But we're talking about Mr. Mink, the Iron Mink, Minky. Because my question was, what arms dealer comes looking
we'll talk
for
about
Whitney?
him later. Yeah, Mr.
Yeah.
Mink.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and ask my last one then.
Do it.
What this one's kind of a shitty question. It's kind of
Okay.
hard.
Alrighty.
This is like were you paying attention to the billboard when they were talking about how loose their vaginas were? What is the tagline for Santo City? Santo City.
MarthaStewartLiving.com.
Close. Santo City, more than you expect. But the sign like the cut ends there, so it might say expected, but I think it's more than you expect.
That's also my tagline. wouldn't you know?
You got one more for me?
Yes, I
Zachy
do.
Poo?
Maybe a tougher one as well. We'll see how you do on this one. It's kind of 2 questions, but I wrote it as one.
Ooh.
What color are the pom-poms young Faye wears, and what is on her sweater? Gol darn it.
I wasn't staring at her chest, so I don't know what was on her sweater, but the pom-poms were kind of a lime
then
green.
why did we start recording? Obviously, now we pause. I'm kidding, everyone.
We gotta go back. They were like a lime green, like almost like a chartreuse color for the pom
Is
poms.
chartreuse a lime green? I
Chartreuse
didn't know
is
that.
a mix of green and yellow.
That makes
my
sense.
favorite color.
I'm sorry, but Crayola taught me that color's called lemon lime.
I think Crayola just decided they were like, scarlet.
Yeah, back
this.
when you were young and innocent, and your favorite color could be macaroni and cheese.
Yeah. Shout out to all the art teachers calling apricot skin color.
Yeah,
to a
shout out
classroom full of
Crayola.
black kids. They did come out with the Crayola like skin tones where they just made more browns. Yeah. Good for them, I guess.
There was no longer just tan and pale.
She had an H for high school.
I was gonna say write half of the alphabet, but that would also be wrong.
Mm-hmm. A U.
Guess that's correct, Steven.
I knew it was either an H or a U.
U.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it in my peripherals.
Yeah, that was my trivia.
That was good. That was
Thank
good. Good job, Zach. I don't think you got any of mine correct, technically, but that's okay.
What do you mean technically?
Well,
it's either I did or I didn't.
Well, the second one I didn't really ask because you asked me.
So I did get that one right.
No, because I didn't
would
ask
have
it.
known it. Well, you got the same one fully correct.
Did I?
Because
I feel like I got all of them.
You didn't say
correctly.
hatched, and the U.
I said lab. The question was where was she born?
And the U was a gimme. Clearly,
if I was
everybody listening knows that. That the U was a gimme.
Well, gimme more of a man right now, Zach, because you're gonna gimme a rundown of today's episode and everyone's favorite segment. Also, we want to say hello to our friends in Argentina that listened to the show. Congrats on winning the World Cup. Should have been. I was rooting for France, but that's okay. Did Zach comprehend the episode this week? Man, when we get our public access show like of this to do the video, I'm gonna have a hell of a hand movement for that segment.
Yeah, a couple of things. I don't think public access is a thing anymore, and I think what we're doing is the modern day equivalent of a public access show. Can you imagine like us in the 1990s, like doing an hour-long
been so fucking annoying in the
on
90s.
a public access network where every day we talk about the next episode of Murphy Brown or something?
You know, I really think that the monologue at the end of Doogie, we would do one on Doogie Howser, but then we would both do a Doogie Howser monologue to end the episode. Which, honestly, great idea, but...
Great idea.
Mm-hmm. All right, Zach's going to have 20 seconds to spill his beans and let us know if they're pinto, if they're baked, if they're black beans. Are your beans black today, Zach?
You know, when I'm asked for option of bean, I do usually go with the black bean.
Well, once you go black, you can't come back.
It's true.
It's just the rules.
Pinto, get the fuck out of here. Black.
Black is how I want my beans, and black is how I like my co-hosts. So, Zach, are you ready to take it off? I don't know why I said you're ready to take it off. But are you ready?
Yeah, what am I taking
But
off?
are you ready
Are you
to
saying
take
I'm
it
gonna
off?
take off my white skin to
You've
reveal
got
that I've
20
been white
seconds
chicksing
to
you this
become a
entire
black
time.
man and tell me what happened this episode.
You know, I think more than usual we talked to each other during this episode.
It's true.
And I still think...
It was very mystery science theater-y.
I still think what's going to happen here is based on if I can get it all out in 20 seconds or not.
Well, as it usually is, Zach, and you usually do get it all out in 20 seconds or less. So
I've got it
have
down to a
faith in
science. It doesn't take me long at all.
Well, are you ready, Zach?
Sure.
All right. Are the mommies in the audience ready? I think
hope so. Everyone, I hope you're latched. I hope you're latched to the sweet sounds of my Midwestern tenor timbre.
All right. Everyone's favorite
baby
suckler
latched.
is ready to go. On go, Zachary.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
agrees to help the lady that was her fake mom when she didn't remember anything in exchange for information about her past and to get her out of town. Jet and Spike have to grapple with Faye having lied to them and if they're going to help her or not, while Jet also tries to get to his daughter's recital. Vicious does some stuff, makes some moves while Julia is deciding whether or not she should undermine him. I think it's at the end.
Stop it. Undermine him is cut from the record. I'm getting a tattoo right on my fucking chin.
Yeah.
It says
undermine with the line through it.
That's
a deep cut. I'd like to just say, Gren in this show has a tattoo on, what is that? What is this bone?
Their collarbone.
I was about to say clavicle. So that says gender with a line through it, which is great. It's great that a non-binary person is in this Netflix show, that they did something like that with Gren, but that's just the most on the nose thing to be like, this character doesn't give a fuck about gender.
Do you think they were in like the production room? They're like, oh shit, guys.
Yeah.
How are they gonna know whether Grin is
another
a boy,
big
girl,
line
or
of
neither,
Coke?
or both? Oh fuck! They didn't watch the
shit.
cartoon. They're not gonna know. Yeah.
Anyway, how'd I do?
You did a good job of
right?
describing the first part of the episode.
Right. You see where I was going. I just needed like 10 more seconds.
I didn't get any of the.
Right. I understand.
You know what? I'm
Firm
feeling
but fair,
generous today.
Firm but fair.
C-.
You think that's generous? I think that's fair, but I do not think that's generous.
I think that's generous today.
Today? What about any other day?
Well, it depends on how you do on those days.
Okay, I'll take it. Obviously, I have no choice but to take it. That's the agreement that we have.
As per our agreement.
Let's talk about this episode in the time we've got left. This is kind of an episode of the live-action Cowboy Bebop that plays all the quote-unquote hits of this show so far. Mm-hmm. It's got all of the silliness. It's got all of the weirdly misguided sexual stuff.
A lot of sexual stuff this
week. Weird characters that don't quite gel together as a unit in the way that they're supposed to. Jet's got a daughter. All the hits of this show so far. And then the end, literally against every odd stacked against it, revisits one of the most memorable versions of the original series, does it in a very similar way to the original series, and in some slight ways perhaps improves on what they did with that moment in the original series, which makes it almost impossible to talk about if this is a good episode or not. Because I feel that way about that ending moment, and then the rest of the episode, I don't know, I feel about the same as I did with last week's VR episode. It's a little fun, it's a little breezy, but it is actively rotting my brain to watch it. It's not giving me anything dynamic like the original show did. What do you think about Galileo?
Like you said, the formula is all there. They had a double cross. You find out more about a character's past. We have Jet and his daughter being a thing. You have Vicious. You have so much. There's a beat for every character in this episode.
Yeah. Then what's missing? What is it?
I think nothing is connected.
I think it's the writing. I think it's the dialogue.
Yeah, like that has to be it, because the big picture of this episode should be a really good one. But I'm not walking away feeling like anything other than that. The last scene was anything more than, oh, that wasn't bad.
Well, okay, I guess we can just kind of talk openly about this episode and not exactly go through
beat
the
by
episode.
Beat. Yeah.
Because one of the thoughts that I have is what's supposed to be a joke in the style of Cowboy Bebop at the end is that Faye and this woman were never in danger, that this woman was using Faye as part of a sexual escapade. Mm-hmm. That completely, we just got this whole thing that's a little slight and silly, but where Faye kind of learns what it's like to have a mother-daughter relationship, and then never mind, why did she
go through all the trouble to find Faye? She could have had anybody take her somewhere if she wanted to.
If the thrill is like having you at gunpoint, I don't know. I think that what's just supposed to be a joke, like a lot of jokes in this show, it doesn't quite work. It's not funny, and it kind of undercuts an emotional-ish storyline through the episode. It means the whole episode was more or less pointless.
Yeah, I think that this show should be better than that. You know, like, is it, you know, week to week a totally different story? Yes, but the ramifications of the week before still exist, and they're still, like, they gain something from that. Now, was the scene where Jet was dancing along to his daughter's thing kind of cute, but really stupid and silly, and did it make me laugh? Yes. But also, I got nothing from that either.
Yeah.
You know,
did it add any
that's
depth
sweet.
to Jet's character? No. Did we learn anything new about him? No.
And you brought this up when we were watching,
Yeah.
how, you know, we were both really excited that, oh, okay, maybe this whole Jet having a daughter thing will, like, add more depth to his character. But I think it's taken depth away because they've reduced him to just it's my ship and my home, and I have a daughter, and it's Kimmy's birthday. Oh no, I gotta find her a present. Oh boy, Kimmy's mom sure doesn't want me to see her anymore. Oh damn, I'm sad about that.
I've been trying to, while we watch these episodes, take notes of things that I want to bring up when we talk about them to just get a little bit better at that. Mm-hmm. I wrote down one note this episode, and it's about Jet, and I'd like to share it with you and with the world at large now, because I think I've got something here. This show has deduced Jet into Mr. Krabs.
Oh my fucking god.
He's just the boss that has a daughter.
That's hilarious. And he's you know, we gotta get the money.
And he's always laughing. He kind of has a Mr. Krabs laugh.
Holy shit.
This show has just turned Jet into Mr. Krabs.
Wasn't there a SpongeBob plotline where there were those people that thought they were Patrick's parents, but they weren't Patrick's parents?
Well, now
Is
there's
this just
a whole
that episode?
Patrick spin-off show where Patrick's parents, different Patrick's parents, and Patrick's siblings are characters.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
What else can we talk about in this one? I'd like to talk about Mr. Mink. I really want to know this guy's story because there's the part, which ends up not meaning anything, but there's the part when he's holding the gun towards Faye and he's like, but if people don't fear me, then I'm just Mink.
Mink.
What's this guy's story? That he wears mink coats and he calls himself and makes everyone call him Mr. Mink. And if people aren't afraid of him, then that makes all of that stupid. So he's got to be this like cold-blooded.
Well, because he's got to be the
killer.
Iron Mink. He used to be just Mink, and nobody gave a fuck about Mink.
Right.
But Iron Mink, people respect him. People want to do kinky shit with him.
People don't mention that it's weird that he calls himself Mink and wears mink all
he's
the
in a
time
fucking
so
desert.
much.
Aren't you hot?
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, he committed to the name really early on, so he's kind of just stuck with it.
It was wintertime, and he was
get
like,
used to it after a while.
Maybe the mink.
Sure.
Also, so in the scene where Jet is FaceTiming his body into his daughter's recital, but also still just in this guy's store using his Wi-Fi, Spike gets attacked by Mink's goons and kills them.
and
all for this fucking real. Sex thing?
None of this was real.
Those people died. He put a guy in a fake mink coat to go out there to fight Spike Spiegel.
Right. Because it's not real, so he's not going to
fight.
So
that he could sleep with his wife?
Right. And they died. But I see what you're saying, but this show shoots people and they fall down and go, and they're dead.
Yeah.
These people are not real in this show. Something that I think is a funny bit that Lily thinks is really annoying. No matter what we're watching, even if it's something as like heady as Better Call Saul, if Lily's like, how did that happen? I just say, it's a cartoon show, honey. And this works for this show. Like, when something happens, it's like, why is that? It's like, why are you asking questions? It's a cartoon show.
It's
Calm
a cartoon.
Down.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Lily hates that. Anytime they have a question, it's a cartoon show, honey.
I bet they get really mad at you.
Don't think about it too much. I think it's awesome and funny, so I'm going to stick to it.
Exactly. It's a good joke! Let's see, what else is happening? Vicious is...
Yeah, I guess we can talk about the Vicious and Julia of it all.
And you said Vicious did some stuff. Vicious was in this episode for 3 seconds.
I know. I wanted to say the Vicious so I could get to the Julia.
The ball sack guy and the ethnically ambiguous Hispanic Asian woman that lives in a motorcycle shop. I'm still a little unsure about her.
Exactly.
Her operation she's running.
They had their whole Django Unchained Leonardo DiCaprio mansion scene.
He said, I'm going to lick, this is the blade I use to cut testicles off, so I'm going to stick it in a tomato and then lick the fuck out of it.
No, it feels like what they're trying to do with Vicious is there's like a small point to it because they're trying to tell the season-long story of him becoming the face and then taking over the syndicate from the elders. Mm-hmm. So he's the one that's starting to make the business deals. He's the one that's he's trying to like set up his chess pieces so when he takes over, he's got things that he can do. But what's going on underneath it, and I still think it's so misguided that this show made Vicious and Julia like just as much main supporting characters as anyone else, as Faye on this show. They're in every episode doing something. And like all the characters in this show, they have this new medium to tell these stories. They've got to have more stories to tell about these characters, and they just don't. So we watch like Julia and Vicious kind of like move chess pieces around again. Yeah. The Julia stuff it would be interesting if I cared about them because she's in this version gonna maybe kill Vicious and give the lady who Spike met with earlier in the season the keys to the throne, and they're gonna take over.
You know what's fucked, Zach, that I remembered today?
Yeah.
None of that's gonna happen. We're not gonna get to see any of that.
Well, because the show doesn't exist a few episodes from now. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
That's fine. I just am like, it makes me care even less about that stuff because I know I'm not going to get any sort of resolution.
If anything, they're probably going to make something happen that's supposed to build the stakes of that story, and we won't care because we'll never see it.
It's true.
But it's kind of fun because we're living in this world all of a sudden where streaming services can decide, never mind, don't want it, toss it, and it never existed in the first place.
Yeah, there's a big one getting taken off of HBO.
That's the conversation. This show called Minx that had a first season that was really well received. It was renewed for season 2. They were a week away from done filming it, and as like a tax write-off type situation, they canceled the show and announced they're removing the first season from the streaming service.
Well, there's another show that like had multiple seasons that's getting removed because of
a different one.
Yeah, they didn't want to pay residuals anymore to the actors. But it was like a pretty major show. I'm trying to think of what it was. It's one that I watched but never finished.
Well, one of my hills that I'll always die on is this is why physical media is still important.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think for a while the idea was, well, I don't need to buy stuff because it's going to be on a streaming service for forever.
Yeah.
But it can literally become lost media overnight because it's been removed by the content owner.
It's Westworld. Westworld's getting taken off HBO.
Oh, really? And it got canceled.
Westworld, I think so, yeah.
No,
Westworld,
it didn't.
Well, yeah, Westworld was one of like the biggest shows at one time.
It just I didn't know that about Westworld. It just recently had its now last season, and I think they were planning on doing one more, and then it got canceled.
Damn.
Anyway, let's talk for just another second about Cowboy Bebop, because I think maybe this series' worst crime is how much they've stripped away everything interesting about Spike Spiegel.
Yeah, every bit of it.
This is episode 7, and Spike has just been sitting around the entire series. He's not getting any... And now next week is the Perot LeFou episode, and I've seen it, and he is a little bit more involved in that one. But there's no subtlety to this show, and we've talked about this. Spike is the most subtle character on the show, and instead of challenging themselves and finding new stories to tell for this character, they kind of just have him brood in the background. I really, really dislike it, and Spike's the most important character. Like, if they didn't have a good take on Spike, what the fuck was the point?
Because as much as I do love Jet and Faye as characters, and I love Ed, Spike is the main character of the show.
Yes.
So if you don't have any clue what to do,
he's like the human embodiment of the jazz action,
like he
storytelling
like
of
water.
the show.
Like that's the whole point.
If they didn't have a good take on Spike, and he wasn't going to be getting into hand-on-hand contact fights to music in every other episode. Why did they make this? What was the point? To turn it into a boring sci-fi
that's another
procedural
thing about
show?
this episode, Zach. There was no action-filled climactic moment. I mean, we get Spike fighting in
Guns
the background.
pointed at people. That's it.
Yeah, like that's...
And as we learned during this episode, these things cost $6-7 million a pop. They had the money to do more. They could have hired a better stunt choreographer.
Yeah, why? Because Spike's fight that was happening in the background was really cool. I would have loved, instead of just visuals over and over again of Jet doing this like side swaying dance, cut to Spike actually fighting and put like a really cool track over it. Then juxtapose that.
It's a funny visual, but that's not what we signed up for.
Exactly. Make it a hard cut from the recital and the funny dancing there to a kick-ass fight that's happening in the background, but we're not even getting to see half of it.
We're at the end of the show, and we got to do our captain. I want to circle back one more time as we wrap this up to talk about something that's positive, how in the end of this episode that has all of the same problems that this show usually has, they managed to nail the Faye past self videotape moment. Lily and I were watching this episode yesterday, and we were like groaning through it and talking about how, like, at one point Lily was just like, this show is bad. And I was like, what? And they were like, what? And then at the end of the episode, we both were crying. And I think the cartoon version moved me, but I don't think it made me cry.
Yeah.
The way that watching Faye react to it, watching Jet and Spike react to it, and the performance from the girl playing young Faye, she manages to take a lot of this dialogue, which is ripped from the cartoon version, and it's not corny. It's delivered in the voice of a young kid talking to a camera, and then it adds some extra context to the whole thing that I really like, that maybe even improves on the original a little bit by having Jet and Spike not totally yet realize the weight of this moment that Faye is having, so we kind of get to have this personal moment with Faye. It's kind of between us. I think that's really cool. And I also like the added importance of, it's not just Faye reacting to seeing herself from the past. She hears her mother's voice. And in this episode that's been not subtly about a mother-daughter relationship that's not real, she gets just a hint of, I did have a mom who cared about me. And that was really cool. What do you think about that scene?
The thing that stands out to me is there's a moment, and we've all been around, like, watching, like, if you and I were together and we found, like, an old video of ourselves in, like, high school, we would, like, be laughing when it watched to kind of, like, shake off the embarrassment of remembering that we used to be younger. And when the video starts, Jet kind of does that. He's like, ha, like, because she's, a little, like, younger and being loud. And he looks back at Faye, and for Faye, it's not, oh, I'm embarrassed.
It shows them how real her
It's
situation
her
is.
seeing a part of her life for essentially the first time, and the embarrassment she feels isn't because, oh, I was a little kid. It's because I don't have any idea or recollection of this. Like, this person's so hopeful for me. This person has all these aspirations, and I'm here, doing a con with my fake mom who conned me again. And that is so cool. The way that they take the song that plays over the tape in the anime, they have her playing that on piano, which I like. I mean, the anime, the only thing that I'll give the anime version is it felt like a video that a high school age person made.
I agree.
But flipping that, the mom's recording the video in the live action, so I think it makes sense. And the music
going over it that starts as her playing the piano, and right.
But if we think about it, that would have happened
ways.
Around modern day times, which now would be super easy to do that.
Sure.
In the 90s when Cowboy Bebop was out, that wasn't a thing that you could just do on a regular recorder. But it fits with the accurate time frame, so I'm okay with that.
I thought stuff like that with how in the dance recital there was a guy who basically had a smartphone recording.
Yeah.
And
yet
this version of the show has some weird...
Jet's just there.
Like
a Star Wars hologram.
This Cowboy Bebop has some weird modern stuff in it that I guess does make sense, but takes me out of it a little bit.
Yeah. But overall, the scene was great. I think that it was really well done, really well acted, and well written, too. Like, that was the addition of the moment of her hearing her mom's voice for essentially the first time in her mental life.
Yes.
That's incredible. It's so good.
I want to mention to you there's this show that's getting a lot of hype. It's been on like the top shows of 2022 lists that are coming out. I'm really behind on shows, but I'm finally starting to watch it. And it kind of deals with some of those topics. This show Severance, have you heard about Severance?
I've heard of it, yeah.
It's really good and really interesting. It's like about you can have an implant in your brain that surgically separates your work life and your home life.
Yeah.
And the focus on the show is that these people work for this like shady company, and the people that are like the work life are basically these not real people that are tortured and kept in this limbo, that when they leave work at the end of the day, they like black out for a second, and then now they're back the next day, and they have no memory of anything that's ever happened to them ever outside of work. And it's really interesting.
Yeah, it looks like a cool concept. There was a really good Rick and Morty episode this season.
Did they make fun of it?
It was the whole plot of the episode, but instead of like work life, it was like at night they would like get all the chores and stuff done, and then like the nighttime
interesting
family wants to like take over. It's really good, but that seems like a really cool show. I would watch it.
Let's close this out with a captain of the Bebop. I'll go first, and it's Mr. Mink for me. Just because he's silly. You could give it to Faye, but I'm not taking this show that seriously. No, Mr. Mink was the one character in this episode that I was like, I need to know more about this guy. Yeah. I want to know how he got this way. Mr. Mink for me. Captain.
Yeah,
of
Mink it up. Mink it all over me. Mink in all caps is my Bebop captain this week. I think Mink deserves it. Not only
did
he
for Mink
successfully play his
Cowboy
role,
Bebop
look
story.
good while doing it, and he got some. Come on, that's a W.
Sure, a couple of his buddies died along the way.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
he's got cronies to spare. He's Mr. fucking Mink.
I'd just like to close this podcast. Thank you for listening by saying, Steven, you're right. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Everyone. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Support this show and our podcast network at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast, where starting at $5 a month, you can get immediate access to all 40 outrageous sessions of Brokeback Bebop. See you next time, Space Cowboy.